November 24th, 2018. Kansas State's Bill Snyder was coaching in his final regular season football game for the Wildcats. This was a man who turned a moribund football team into a Big 12 beast. Snyder had secured 215 victories as head coach of K-State and only needed one more victory to become bowl eligible. But his squad would need to beat Iowa State in the rivalry game dubbed Farmageddon to go bowling.
A throw. Isaiah Zuber!
The Cats clawed their way to a 38-21 lead after wide receiver Isaiah Zuber's touchdown catch with 12:27 left in the game. But the Cyclones' Category 5 scoring barrage proved too much for Kansas State.
Montgomery in again!
Iowa State scored 3 touchdowns in just under 8 minutes to triumph 42-38. The career of K-State's greatest football coach had come to a close.
Any regrets? I would probably have enjoyed winning more ball games. But aside from that, I have never regretted being at Kansas State and never regretted staying at Kansas State. And I'm pleased that I did.
Welcome to BYU Radio's Big Stories, telling the amazing and inspiring tales from the Big 12 and beyond. I'm your host, Cleon Wall. Coach Snyder put his heart and soul into Wildcat football, Kansas State University, and the surrounding community, one win and one personal note at a time.
I've gotten a handwritten note for my birthday every year since I've been here from him.
Thank you for some of the letters over the years. What you've done for me is beyond words.
This is the Big Stories episode, Revival, the Bill Snyder story.
I was born and raised in St. Joseph, Missouri. My mother, Marianetta Snyder, lost her husband when I was very young and raised me. My mother was never 5 feet tall in her life, never weighed 100 pounds. She was the strongest woman I've ever met in my life, strongest person I've ever met in my life, amazing woman, and anything that I may have achieved is all because of her.
Bill grew up playing football right outside of his front door.
The street in front of us was a brick street, and so I grew up playing tackle football out on the brick street.
He continued packing the pigskin in high school and eventually in college at the University of Missouri.
And found out very quickly that I wasn't good enough to play there. And went back to the community college in St. Joe for a semester and then transferred to William Jewell College and played football there. That was back in the single wing days, and I was a tailback, so to speak, the guy that gets the ball and spin, hand it off, or keep it, whatever.
Snyder then moved into the football coaching biz, first in high school and then in the college ranks at North Texas and Iowa under head coach Hayden Fry. K-State play-by-play announcer Wyatt Thompson said Snyder helped to resurrect a floundering Hawkeyes team as the offensive play caller.
Iowa, they had never really done a whole lot. Now, the next thing you know, they're winning Rose Bowls and all that kind of stuff. He was very, very, very gifted offensive. Great football coach, period. But offensively, he was elite.
During the 1988 season, the Hawkeyes beat up on Kansas State 45-10. K-State athletic director Steve Miller may have had that game in the back of his mind when looking for a new head football coach.
Steve called and asked if I would be interested in the position, and I said no. And he said, well, can I come up and visit? And I said, well, you can if you like, Steve, but I really am not interested in the position, but I appreciate it.
There was a good reason why Snyder wasn't considering the head coaching job in Manhattan, Kansas. The Wildcats were woeful.
I don't know if you guys really understand how bad we were. In the 27 games that we played here, prior to Bill Snyder walking onto this campus, we were 0-26-1. That's one game from being perfection the wrong way. And for you non-sports people in the audience, that's not very good. There were football lettermen here that wouldn't wear their letterman's jacket around campus at that time because they were embarrassed at what they were producing on the field. That's crazy.
One day, Steve shows up on the doorstep and came in and talked. And Steve asked me if we had an extra bedroom for the night. he was, in other words, he wasn't going to take no for an answer. And finally, I consented. I told Steve I will come and visit, but I assure you, I'm not interested in leaving the University of Iowa right now. And I came and I visited. I enjoyed the people so much. And I asked Steve at one point in time if he would give me a few minutes. I just wanted to go out on the campus. And I did. I walked out on the campus and visited with students. And I didn't tell them why I was there and asked questions about the university. And I was extremely impressed by their response and their love for their university. And when I went back, I told Steve I will give serious consideration to this, and thought about it for a little time. And after I got back home, and that was it. Decided to do it.
There's a story that was told many, many times over the years, too, about when he was looking into this job. That Bo Schembechler told one of our athletic department people, "Oh, please hire him. Get him out of the Big Ten."
In his introductory news conference, Snyder said the opportunity for the greatest turnaround in college football exists here today.
I thought it was great, just great opportunity. That's the way I saw it. You know, what happens if you can be a part of changing, you know, the environment here. That was really kind of struck home with me.
He's just always had the mindset of doing the right thing, and I guess ultimately coming into Manhattan was just another one of those challenges.
Ross Snyder is one of Bill's sons.
He's always loved football and always about just improving a little bit each and every day. He took that mentality and just ran with it at K-State.
Before the 1989 campaign, Sports Illustrated dubbed K-State as Futility U and described the Wildcats as America's most hapless team. Snyder told the sports magazine, "We will be as good as we can be, and we will not be 0-11.
I remember our very first meeting. I introduced myself, introduced the staff, had the players introduce themselves, and I said, let's go out on the field. We had the scoreboard lit up. And when we got out around the 50-yard line, I stopped and gathered everybody together, and I said, I want you to look at that scoreboard. And what I want you to understand is that those numbers that you've seen up there are going to change if you desire for them to change. And I wanted them to have the expectation that they would be successful.
As Ross and Bill Snyder walked through Bill Snyder Family Stadium, Ross reflected back on his dad's first season in the Little Apple.
You know, my first real memory of this place, besides my little sister in a picture hanging off that pole over there. You remember that? Frank Hernandez, down to the final seconds against North Texas. Game-winning touchdown began the beginning of a new era.
It was Kansas State's lone win of the season.
Hey, they won a game they celebrated. Not games, a game. Being honest, it's the truth.
K-State then won 5 games in the second year and 7 games in year 3. In the 5th season, the Wildcats won 9 games and beat Wyoming in the Copper Bowl.
I think at the end of the day, what stands out about his offensive mind and prowess is that he changed the game, if you really want to think about it that way. In that, you hear the phrase, the Wildcat now, okay? That happened here with a running quarterback. That changed college football.
I remember the first years we were here, looking into that stadium, I mean, it was just multicolored outfits everywhere. You know, give it about 5-6 years, I mean, the seats are filling up with purple everywhere. And just to see the magnitude of which it has come over all these years is just amazing.
If I'm being honest, you cannot tell the story of Manhattan and Kansas State without including Bill Snyder. That pretty much says what you need to know about what has been accomplished here. It's legendary with some of the things that he's written to people over the course of time.
You know, when you've got a job that takes all the time that it does, you know, you can't spend all your time making making phone calls, but I found that I could always write notes and being able to say, I appreciate a person for a certain thing that they may have done.
Whether it's at the office, he comes home late at night, I'll find him on the couch, maybe just listening to some news, and he's always got that pen and paper out, and he's writing out notes, either giving thank yous or possible situations that have arisen, whether it was an injury from a game or words of encouragement to other friends or people he doesn't even know, just to let them know that he's thinking of them in their times of troubles or good things ahead.
I could tell you that both of my parents are gone now, but when my dad was in failing health back in the 2011-2012 era, some of the notes that he wrote, not to me, but to my dad. And then my mom, before she passed away, she had breast cancer and all kinds of different things that went on in her life. He always he had that innate ability to kind of relay to you, we're thinking of you. We're praying for you. We want you to do well.
A phone call is pretty easy to do. Sit down, write a note, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, take it to the post office. All that takes time and effort and probably has a little bit more meaning to it.
Snyder's letters and notes have made a massive impression on those who have received them. So BYUtv had some of the recipients respond back to Coach Snyder.
Hey, Bill Snyder, this is Patrick Hines from Wichita, Kansas. I received this letter from you beginning of 2015. And this has been framed in my room for almost 10 years now. And I just wanted to say thank you for helping me find the motivation to get my health back on track.
Coach, this is Mitch Lepke. Thank you for everything you've done for me. You gave me something larger than life to chase. I've been lucky to be in college coaching for 12 years. You may remember me when I was a senior at McPherson College. You actually were kind enough to take a meeting with me, and you told me to be where my feet are. And where I am is the most important place I will ever be.
I can't tell you the joy that I felt opening up my little mailbox at West Hall in the dorms and seeing the official K-State letterhead. I ran upstairs to my roommate and I said, "You won't believe what I've got in the mail." And we just stood there in awe for a couple of minutes. It was really cool. And I keep this hanging on here on my office. You can see the pin right above me. As a reminder of what it means to work hard and to always be kind and to always be thoughtful to people.
It's heartwarming to see it on video as it is. You have to realize that's what coaches do, and their teachers do exactly the same thing. A lot of people extend themselves in the lives of others in order to benefit friendships and relatives and people in need.
Seeing the impact that you make on all these lives on something as simple as a card and a thank you, and how it can just make such an effect on people. And you continue to do it day in and day out, and I think it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, son. Yeah.
These are handwritten notes. These are notes from the heart, right? And I just always felt like there are a lot of things that set the man apart. That's right towards the top of the list, 100%.
As Bill and Ross Snyder were getting ready to leave the stadium that bears the Snyder family name, the coach was asked what letter he would write to his former home away from home.
I would say thank you from the bottom of my heart for always being there for us. Rain, shine, indifference, and losses, and bad play, and bad coaching. You were always there. And you housed a tremendous amount of wonderful people who were exactly the same way.
There are very few times in life that you're fortunate enough to have somebody walk into your life like that guy. I was one of the lucky ones.
Revival, the Bill Snyder story, was produced and written by Josh Bergstrom, Whitney Sheffield, and Cleon Wall. Music and post-production by Kevin West. A big thanks to Fox Sports for the highlights. Make sure you watch BYUtv's Big Stories by logging on to BYUSN.com. Big Stories is a production of BYU Radio. Hey everyone, Cleon Wall here again. I'm inviting you to check out another BYU radio podcast. It's called Deep Blue. It's where you get the true stories of BYU athletes and coaches from their own mouths. It's hosted by my colleague, Jason Shepard. Last season, they had great interviews on Deep Blue, including Cougar quarterback Gary Bohannon. He teared up quite a bit talking about his son and what it means for his boy to watch his dad play. Also, BYU swimmer Jordan Tiffany, who quit swimming due to mental health struggles. He talked about how he was able to get back in the pool again. More great conversations for season number 3. BYU running back Hinckley Rapati will talk about his tear-filled journey to BYU. Former BYU tight end Chad Lewis, he's going to reflect back on that special 1996 BYU football season. And BYU basketball players Richie Saunders and Fuseni Traore discuss their unique relationship. It started way before they got to BYU. Please subscribe and listen to Deep Blue with Jason Shepard wherever you get podcasts, or check it out on the BYU radio app.